The blinding flash of red carpet cameras.
Huh.
The roar of the crowd.
Oh, yeah, the magic of Hollywood.
Exactly. I mean, picture this. We're at the 2026 Grammys, and the world is watching a country superstar take home 3 major awards. He is standing there, smiling next to his wife, looking like a man who has, finally conquered the entire music industry.
Right.
But what the cameras don't capture is that beneath his perfectly tailored suit, he is in sheer, excruciating agony.
It's wild to think about.
It really is. He is hiding a freshly broken collarbone from a terrifying ATV crash. He is weighing in at nearly 540 pounds, and he is silently carrying the burden of a recent medical blood panel report that literally made his doctors look him dead in the eye and ask, "How are you alive?"
Such a chilling question to hear from a doctor.
Seriously. And the reality here is our headline for this deep dive: Jelly Roll. I should be dead right now. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Because, we see the Grammys, we see the trophies and the smiles. We don't see the failing organs.
Exactly.
Like, how does the human body even sustain a 90-day arena tour when it is actively shutting down? So today we are unpacking Jelly Roll's unprecedented physical collapse, the brutal biological reality of his 2024 tour, his staggering 275-pound weight loss, and, well, the personal fallout that absolutely no one saw coming just as he crossed his ultimate finish line.
Right. And to understand how he even survived that red carpet, we have to look at the physical prison his body had become right before it.
Yeah, physical prison is the right way to put it.
Because at 540 pounds, he was consuming roughly 6,000 calories of pure, unadulterated junk food every single day. The daily logistics of existing were completely failing. Like, we know he and his wife, Bunnie had to push 2 queen beds together in their room just to physically fit.
Just to sleep comfortably. It's heartbreaking.
It is. But it's the medical intervention at the Ways Too Well Wellness Clinic down in Texas that reveals the actual biological damage. The clinic's founder, Brigham Bueller, runs these extensive blood panels, and the results are terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
We hear terms like danger zone cholesterol and sky-high insulin thrown around a lot in pop culture, but what is actually happening in the body at that extreme level?
So, at 540 pounds, your endocrine system is essentially in a state of constant, desperate triage.
Okay, triage how?
Well, the sky-high insulin means his cells were no longer responding to the hormone that processes glucose out of the bloodstream, so his pancreas was just pumping out more and more insulin to compensate.
Which is really bad. Right?
Yeah, because it creates a highly toxic inflammatory state throughout the entire body. But honestly, the most devastating marker on that blood panel was his testosterone. It had plummeted to the level of a preteen boy.
Wait, really? How does morbid obesity impact testosterone that drastically?
Yeah.
Is the body just shutting down hormone production because it's so exhausted?
It's actually a biological mechanism called aromatization, and it is just a vicious cycle. Adipose tissue, which is body fat, contains high levels of an enzyme called aromatase.
Okay.
And this enzyme's whole job is to take your testosterone and convert it into estrogen. So the more fat tissue you carry, the more of your own testosterone is actively being siphoned off and changed into estrogen.
Oh, wow. So his own fat is essentially stealing his testosterone.
Exactly. And for a man, this doesn't just crash your sex drives, which, by the way, Jelly Roll admitted heavily impacted his 10-year marriage. It destroys your baseline energy levels, it induces severe depressive episodes, and it creates this physical exhaustion that makes it nearly impossible to exercise.
So your body is chemically barricading you from getting healthy.
Yes. His own biology was working against him.
That is just terrifying. And right as he is confronting these massive, life-altering health revelations, just days before those Grammys, he takes his four-wheeler ATV out and completely flips it.
Yeah, the timing is just unbelievable.
He crashes hard, fracturing his collarbone. And instead of going to a hospital, instead of resting, his brother actually works on the ATV to make it look brand new. And Jelly Roll just walks that Grammy red carpet.
With a broken collarbone.
Yes. He said every single congratulatory hug he received that night made him want to scream out loud from the sheer physical pain.
The ability to compartmentalize immense physical trauma for the sake of an external reward, that is the perfect manifestation of deeply rooted addiction behavior.
That makes total sense. It makes me think of, running a massive nuclear reactor without any cooling system.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right, because the energy output, his talent, the ambition, the chart-topping hits, the awards, is astronomical. But without the infrastructure to cool the core, meaning a healthy physiological body and mind, a meltdown isn't just a possibility, it is a biological guarantee.
That nuclear reactor analogy is spot on because the fuel source for that energy was highly volatile to begin with. We have to look at the psychological transference of his addictions.
Because he had a really rough past.
Right. Oh, incredibly rough. This is a man who started hustling on the streets in the 8th grade. He spent a decade in and out of the prison system. He was dealing with severe, life-threatening addictions to cocaine, codeine, and alcohol.
Yeah, that's a lot to carry.
And when he finally got sober from the hard drugs, the underlying neurological pathways in his brain that craved those massive dopamine spikes, they didn't just vanish.
They just found a new vehicle to get the dopamine.
Exactly. The addiction transferred completely. Hyper-palatable junk food became his new, highly visible drug. He engaged in what he called closet eating.
Like sneaking food.
Yeah, exactly. The exact same shame cycles, the same secretive behaviors, and the same neurochemical rewards that fueled his cocaine use began fueling his daily 6,000-calorie food intake. It checked all the same psychological boxes.
Wow.
The only difference is that you cannot hide the consequences of a food addiction. He was wearing the physical toll of his coping mechanism for the whole world to see.
Like, he was winning awards, but his body was rotting from the inside out. And wait until you hear what was happening behind the scenes of his biggest tour. By the way, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and uncovering the real stories behind the headlines, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
We really do.
Because you would think nearly dying on an ATV, combined with blood work that suggests imminent organ failure, would be the ultimate wake-up call to just stop everything.
You'd hope so.
But instead, he took that exact same fractured, exhausted body and threw it into a 90-day arena tour.
Right, the 2024 Beautifully Broken Tour. And the irony of that name became painfully literal. Commercially, it was an absolute triumph. We're talking sold-out arenas across the country and an incredible, visceral connection with his fans.
But physically?
Physically, behind the curtain, it was a medical nightmare. Out of the 90 days they were on the road, Jelly Roll was on heavy systemic antibiotics for 70 of them.
70 days of antibiotics on a 90-day tour? How is that even physiologically survivable? I mean, before they even played the very first show in Utah, he was hospitalized with severe, agonizing stomach pains. They suspected appendicitis or his gallbladder completely failing. He literally could not eat a single thing for a week.
And yet the tour goes on.
It's crazy.
Well, the human body, when flooded with extreme performance adrenaline, can temporarily mask an incredible amount of pain. But the systemic inflammation he was already carrying from the obesity made him hypersusceptible to secondary infections.
Right, because his immune system was already tanked.
Exactly. And taking antibiotics for 70 days essentially obliterates your gut microbiome, which is where roughly 70% of your immune system lives. So he had zero natural defenses left.
That is just a recipe for disaster.
It was. Mid-tour, he develops this severe infection in his jaw. He had a dime-sized cyst in the middle of his teeth that required an emergency root canal and major oral surgery.
And he goes directly from the oral surgeon's chair straight to the arena stage.
Just unbelievable.
He performs the first 3 songs of his set with a completely numb mouth. He said he felt like he had slobber just pouring off his face while he was trying to sing to tens of thousands of people.
Which is horrifying.
But the physical collapse doesn't stop there. Fast forward to his recent run on the Big Ass Stadium Tour Part 2 with Post Malone. He ends up hospitalized again, this time in Charlotte, North Carolina, for a brutal sinus infection. The medical staff literally pumped him full of steroids just to get him on his feet so he could perform.
Though it is pretty sweet, Post Malone actually sent him this massive bouquet of flowers to the hospital with a note that said, "Get well soon, mofo, love ya."
Oh, that is actually really sweet. But still, the medical side of it, which highlights a very common yet incredibly dangerous music industry standard.
Oh, absolutely. Corticosteroids reduce inflammation rapidly. They open up the vocal cords and clear the sinus passages, giving the performer the illusion of a cure.
But it's just a Band-Aid, right?
It's worse than a Band-Aid. They don't fight the underlying infection. They actually suppress the immune system even further. You are quite literally trading tomorrow's long-term health for tonight's 90-minute performance.
You know, we romanticize the music industry so much. We applaud this show must go on mentality as if it's some kind of badge of honor.
Right, like it proves how dedicated they are.
Yeah. But think about what we are actually demanding as fans.
Yeah.
How on earth is an artist expected to perform at peak emotional and vocal capacity every single night while their body is actively, dangerously falling apart?
They shouldn't be.
It feels barbaric, honestly. We're clapping for a man who is essentially torturing his own organs for our entertainment.
The cognitive dissonance is staggering, and Jelly Roll himself observed this profound contrast.
Did he?
Yeah. Spiritually and performance-wise, he called it the best tour of his entire life. He felt deeply connected to his audience, vibrating on this massive emotional high. But physically, even as he was beginning to address his weight, he called it the absolute worst tour of his career. His spirit was soaring, but his physical vessel was failing underneath him.
Yeah, and those hospital visits, the endless rounds of steroids, the constant infections, they finally acted as the ultimate warning signs. He finally decided to save his own life and completely transformed his body.
He really did.
But later in this deep dive, we have to talk about the shocking personal twist nobody saw coming right at his finish line.
Yes, because the physical transformation he undertook is monumental. Shedding 275 pounds is not just going on a diet. It is a complete and utter dismantling of your daily habits, your coping mechanisms, and your physiological baseline.
It's basically rebuilding yourself from scratch.
It is. And he started in the most humble way imaginable. When he first reached out for help, his coach told him, "We're going to start by walking to the mailbox and back."
Just the mailbox.
That was it, day one, just to the mailbox.
I love that, because from the mailbox, he started putting in the real biological work. He hired Chef Larios, who had to play some serious culinary mind games because Jelly Roll absolutely hated vegetables.
Oh yeah, he refused to eat them.
So Larios would secretly hide them in all his meals. He'd chop up bell peppers, broccoli, and carrots, cook them down until they were super soft, and blend them into these in-and-out style burger sauces.
Which is actually a brilliant physiological intervention.
How so?
Well, that hidden vegetable strategy provides a massive intake of dietary fiber. And fiber slows down gastric digestion, which helps stabilize that sky-high insulin we talked about earlier. Plus, it feeds the recovering gut microbiome, which is crucial for reducing his overall systemic inflammation.
That makes a ton of sense. And of course, in today's celebrity climate, a massive rapid weight loss immediately sparks rumors about GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic or Mounjaro.
Oh, obviously, everyone assumes it.
But he was incredibly transparent about this. He admitted he did try them at the very beginning of his journey, but he stopped after only 2 weeks.
Yes, he did.
So what is the mechanism there? Like, why stop a drug that is clearly highly effective for weight loss after just 2 weeks?
Well, GLP-1 drugs work by mimicking a hormone that targets the brain to suppress appetite while simultaneously slowing down how fast your stomach empties.
Right, so you stay full longer.
Exactly. But for a professional vocalist, they carry a very specific, dangerous risk. Because they alter how your body processes fluids and drastically reduce your overall intake of food and water, they can cause severe systemic dehydration.
Oh, so it dries you out.
Yes, and this directly affects the mucosal folds of the vocal cords. Without proper hydration and lubrication, the vocal cords cannot vibrate smoothly, leading to hoarseness, vocal fatigue, and potentially long-term structural damage to the voice.
Wow, okay. So he drops the GLP-1s because he's terrified of destroying his singing voice. And he also told his clinic founder that he didn't want an asterisk next to his name. He wanted to prove to himself and to the millions of people watching him that he could do the grueling natural work.
Which is incredibly commendable.
Right. And alongside the nutrition and the exercise, he begins hormone replacement therapy. By artificially replacing that critically depleted testosterone, he breaks that vicious aromatization cycle where his fat was converting his testosterone into estrogen.
Finally giving his body what it needs.
Exactly. His energy levels rebound, his metabolism speeds back up, and the heavy depression lifts.
And, the culmination of all this medical and physical effort was his weigh-in for the 2026 Men's Health cover. He stepped on the scale and hit 265.7 pounds.
Down 275 pounds from his heaviest. He was so ecstatic, he immediately FaceTimed USC President Dana White to celebrate.
I love that detail.
Right. He told Dana he felt like he was a teenager again. He's waking up with a roaring sex drive, having daytime intimacy with his wife. He said he finally feels 17 years old again. He's touching his toes. He's seeing his kneecaps for the first time in years.
It's amazing.
He even admitted he's now meeting with surgeons to have all his loose skin removed, what he humorously referred to as his sagging titties, because it is the very last physical remnant of his former sick life.
He had completely conquered his body.
He really did.
But This brings us to the deeply complex reality of systemic life changes. Just as he reached his ultimate health goals, just days after that Charlotte hospitalization, the news broke on June 15th that he had filed for divorce from Bunnie X.
This is the twist that left everyone absolutely speechless. They'd been married for 10 years.
Yeah.
She was the one publicly defending him, supporting him through the severe drug addictions, the legal troubles, the 6,000-calorie days, and the gruesome reality of that tour.
She was his rock.
And the court documents showed he filed for divorce on May 18th, and they had officially separated on May 9th, citing irreconcilable differences. And the public reaction was so invasive, so immediate, that his daughter, Bailey Ann, had to publicly speak out. She expressed sheer disgust at how deeply invested strangers were in what she called a very clearly private family matter.
It is a heartbreaking situation, but it is a physiologically and psychologically fascinating phenomenon.
How so?
Well, when an individual undergoes intense trauma therapy, and we know he spent significant time at a cabin called On-Site working with a therapist named Mary B., and they pair that mental rewiring with massive physiological changes, the entire ecosystem of their life is forced to shift.
Wait, are you saying that removing the toxic coping mechanisms, stripping away the drugs, the alcohol, and conquering the food addiction somehow exposes foundational cracks in the marriage itself?
Precisely. Because a relationship forged in the fires of severe addiction and chronic illness often relies on very specific, rigid roles.
Right, like a dynamic they fall into.
Exactly. Frequently, there is a caretaker and a patient. The emotional dynamics, the daily communication styles, and the routines are all built entirely around managing the trauma and keeping the patient alive.
So when he gets better,
Right. When you shed 275 pounds, when you rewire your dopamine responses so you no longer need food or drugs to cope, and you balance your hormones, you are literally altering your own brain chemistry.
Yeah.
The foundational structure of the marriage is suddenly trying to support a house that has completely changed shape. The patient no longer needs saving, and the caretaker loses their primary role. Sometimes, tragically, in the process of curing the individual, you disrupt the entire ecosystem of the relationship, rendering it unrecognizable and fundamentally incompatible.
that makes so much sense, but it is so sad. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because the implications of a story like this go way beyond just celebrity gossip.
It leads to a profound philosophical question about the very nature of human identity.
Yeah, it really does.
Like when someone changes every physical and chemical aspect of their body, literally shedding half of their physical mass, stabilizing their insulin, flooding their system with new testosterone, and completely rewiring the neural pathways of their brain that used to dictate their every action, do they actually remain the same person? Or are they essentially a new entity? And if they are entirely new, is it simply inevitable that this new version of themselves becomes fundamentally incompatible with the life and the marriage that the previous version of them built when they were sick?
It is the ultimate paradox.
Ugh.
He fixed his broken nuclear reactor, the core is finally cooled and running perfectly, but the infrastructure of the life built around the old melting down version of him just couldn't survive the upgrade.
Yeah, it's a heavy thought.
It is. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.